crazy.
Yeah, hotter than a New York Mirror. Faster than a faster, hotter, quicker.
Hotter than a fast New York hot dog. Not
hot dog vendors on every street corner.
And they're very fast and hot. And speaking of which, this reminds me of rainbows.
Wait a minute, hot dogs remind you of rainbows?
Apparently, in this hot moment, it does. And they're really pretty and everything, and I love them, and they're pretty. Mm-hmm. But it turns out sometimes they can be a little bit naughty, like they do some crimes. And so this made me, of course, wonder, like, well, these bad rainbows, where do all these bad rainbows go anyway? And it turns out, I found out they go to prison. And it's okay, because it's only a light sentence.
Oh my, yes, quite.
It's a light sentence.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit later about a little about some things that I've got going on. But as a prelude to that, my mom has been going through a lot of her stuff, and she sent me a picture because she's finally learning how to use technology. She sent me a picture of her phone of this device, and I didn't know, it looked like something you would use to make carpets and stuff with. Okay. And it was a loom. It was a little loom, and it turns out that my grandma used to work in the theater, and she used to do the hair weaves for the actresses. Oh. So this was a hair loom. Turns out it's a family hair loom.
It is. Pop goes the weasel.
Pop goes the weasel. I think we should get our show started. What do you think?
Okay. Well, after
with all that
nice bit of history, let's just get it started.
Let's just get going. All right. This is Bearly Furcasting, featuring Taebyn and Injured Nerves audio production. Well, hello, greetings, and Moobarkfluff to all our listeners in the Podiverse. I am Barely Normal, your co-host bear with no use for Nair, and with me is the bestest fur in all of the fandom, Taebyn.
My.
How the fluff are you, Taebyn?
Well, I'm a blushy pup, the bestest. I didn't even apply, and I won. That's amazing. So I'm doing pretty good, apparently. I've been running around doing this stuff. And yes, how are you? Barely, have you had I have a question for you about, speaking of excitement, because I know, well, this will affect you more than me. Mm-hmm. So I heard that the iPhone 13 pre-order opens tomorrow, or a week ago of this recording. How do you feel about that?
I haven't decided if I want it yet.
Really?
Yeah.
This surprises me.
Sure. We'll have to have a chat with the hubby, because I did just buy a new iPad to replace the one I broke.
Oh, that's right.
So not sure whether a new iPhone is in the cards for me at this point. But
do you know how much they cost?
The one I want is probably like $1,500, because I want the Pro version. So
of course you do. Of course you do.
You got to have the Pro version. Why would you get anything less than the iPhone Pro?
You would. I mean, come on. Any for this out there, I've known Bearly for quite a while, and every single time a new iPhone comes out, he's always like, yeah, I pre-ordered, I'm ready. And then as soon as it comes in the mail or whatever, he's like, I got it. So I thought this was exciting. I just found this out like the other day, that the 13 was coming out. And the first thing I thought was like, oh, Bearly, I've got to ask him. So this is an interesting turn of events.
It's got a better camera on it, and it's got some new features to it, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, I have skipped a version once or twice over the years.
Just because it wasn't that big of an upgrade.
It just wasn't that big of an upgrade, but I will have to, if I was a professional photographer and cinematographer, I mean, like we're amateurs. I mean, you and I are amateur cinematographers and videoers, and we haven't videoed for a long time since, COVID. But that silly little disease that just causes all sorts of problems. So, if we were doing professional videos and stuff, I would probably upgrade, but I'm not sure that the nuances of the lenses are enough for me to bite the bullet.
Right. It's the prism comes around all again. I mean, it's got all those bad rainbows in it. It's got
all those bad rainbows, all the prisms. Speaking of, who was locked up in the prism?
I don't.
Do you remember the original Superman movie They put the bad guys in that
yeah.
floating
And they
prism
floating
thing.
and they go off into
Out into the universe. So yeah, they were locked up in Prism. That's for sure.
They were totally, and they weren't even rainbow, so they really had it coming.
Well, my week's been kind of busy. My parents are moving back to Oregon. They're elderly, they are and they are coming to an assisted living facility here in Oregon. And we have them a little cottage there. And so they're not bringing all of their stuff. They're downsizing from a huge house in Tennessee to this little 2-bedroom cottage that's not going to hold all of their stuff. Well, it would hold all their stuff if they stacked it up, but they wouldn't have any place to live.
And they'd be living out on the streets anyway. So
So why? Yeah. So in order to get their stuff here, I mean, they're bringing very little, but we're using the pod system where they drop off a box, you load it up, you lock it, and they come and pick it up and truck it out.
I thought you meant like our podcast. They're using our podcast to get them here. And it'll be great.
Using our podcast. It's amazing.
See how useful our podcast is.
Our podcast is so useful. It's used for moving even.
It's using but you want to move your parents over cross sea or something? Use our podcast.
Yeah. So I had to go buy them a new washer and dryer, put that in the house. Had to go buy them a couple of beds, because they're bringing their beds, but their beds won't be here till like 2 weeks after they get here. So we had to buy some beds for them to sleep in, and then a couple of little love seats and a television for them to watch. And so
cute.
They have all that stuff there ready to go. I was over there yesterday doing the final touches on the beds, putting together, getting the internet turned on and hooked up, and the cable turned on. Hurned on. So
Melvin, turn on the TV.
So it's been super busy, and I apologize to our fans for not being on the BFFT chat as much as I would like to, but I have had to take care of all these things. And then of course, next week, or when this comes out, I'll be back already, but when this comes out, or when we're recording next week, I'm heading towards Tennessee to do all that loading up. And and actually next week you will have a guest co-host next week. It'll be Bucktown Tiger.
It will be Bucktown Tiger. Yay. And you know what? So you were talking about how you've been all busy and like not very active on the chat. Today anyway, Rayne Raccoon messaged me earlier today and said, "Have you heard from Bearly at all today? It said he hasn't been active since like noon yesterday. Is he okay?" But it was fun.
Actually, several people texted me and asked me if I was okay, because I haven't been on there for 24 hours.
It's busy.
No, just been busy. And in fact, Rayne did his edit from last week and sent it to me, and I didn't acknowledge it, and so that's what really caused him to worry, because I didn't acknowledge it. Yeah, so
that's like, actually what he told me too. It's like he didn't acknowledge that he got this edit. What, is he okay? It's funny.
Yeah.
It was funny. That's good.
Yeah. So speaking of old folks, as my parents are old folks, I want to have a quick word about our challenge from 2 weeks ago, where I challenged Furs to go to an old folks home and visit, and in your fursuit. Well, that kind of hit a nerve in the pandemic world, that this may not have been the wisest challenge. So I apologize, and I rescind that challenge and apologize for anyone that was offended or put off by our challenge in this so uncertain world.
So that is rescinded, but in its place, do we have a new exciting challenge that takes its place?
Well, we have a challenge. We have a challenge. And the challenge is to go on a bicycle ride in your fursuit.
Oh.
And what would be really kind of fun, did you ever watch the movie long ago, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?
I didn't actually. I've heard of this. I haven't seen it though.
There's a scene in there where bicycles are a new invention because it's the Old West.
That's an Old West.
Yeah, and so he's riding around on this big old bicycle and trying to get his girlfriend to come on the bicycle with him. And the song "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head" was playing. Raindrops are falling on my head. If anyone would like to recreate that in fursuit, that would be cute.
That would be cute. Do that. Send it in, and we'll play it. We'll throw it on our YouTubes and give you a shout out for that. For
those of you that are keeping track, Columbus, Ohio versus San Jose, California. San Jose is in the lead by 22 listens. So come on,
San
Columbus.
Jose, there you go. Columbus, get the ketchup on. Get the ketchup on. Only if it's a hamburger or hot dog. Although I remember we talked about this. Bearly, you don't like ketchup on your hot dogs.
I'm not a big ketchup fan. I like mustard and sauerkraut or
relish?
stone ground mustard. Some relish, yes. I do relish a good hot dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I see our brains went to the exact same place on that.
Yes. Well,
we didn't have to catch up to that one.
No, our brains occupy the same space in time, I think.
It's very scary. Speaking of which, I realized that, so this really actually has nothing to do with what we were just talking about, but still I realized this for whatever reason, that baking things is really, really hard, like cookies, pies, whatever. Anything you want to bake, it's really hard. Because you have to prepare to do it. And it's always, always, always too soon to prepare to bake anything because it's always still a seed. Because you have to prepare. So it's too soon because it's just, still a seed. Prepare. It's still.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. It's like.
Oh, pair that with another stupid joke, I dare you.
Right? Apparently, yes. All right.
Apparently.
I had a parent named Lee. No, I didn't. My parents are not named Lee. Anyway, speaking of baking.
I'm so sorry. I apologize so much to you, Bearly, and all you furs out there. I hope you're still going to listen to the rest of the show.
No kidding. No kidding. All right. So let's bring us up to the past today.
Did we have a 5-minute furs?
We do have a 5-minute first coming up in a little bit. Yes.
Oh, it's not time.
It's not time.
Hi. How are you doing, Bearly?
Are you baking?
I'm apparently. See, I told you can't do this. It's always too soon because.
It's always too soon.
Go back on to you knew what you were doing. So, I thought. Hi.
I know. We talked about. Hi there. Ha ha ha.
Hi.
So. We took apart, not took apart. What did we take apart? I don't know what we took apart. No, we talked about chicken pot pie, and there was a little clip that was in last week's episode, and it goes, chicken pot pie. Chicken pot, pie. And I found that clip, and it's from a show called Just Shoot Me from the late 90s, early 2000s.
Really?
And,
okay.
Yeah, and so that clip is in there, and you'll hear it. And then I also talked about a show that I was watching called Q-Force.
Oh, I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, about gay FBI agents or secret agents. And wow, this show is taking a beating in the media.
Oh, really? And, what's happening?
People are saying that it's awful, it's terrible, it's stereotypical. That there is the jokes are just there for joke's sake, which I'm okay with because our show is much like that. The jokes are there for the joke's sake.
I hadn't seen it yet, so I still want to see it, but it'll be really interesting having what you said in mind as I watch it.
Well, and the funny thing is, to me, it was hilarious because that's the way my mind works, and it's just one-liners and quick shots like that. And
this sounds great for me. I love this idea. Yeah, this is awesome.
But people are, and especially the gay commentators on YouTube. Oh my God, they are just ripping them apart. It's just terrible.
I'll have to see if, I am really interested to see what Matt Baum has to say about this. Maybe I'll shoot him a message and say, Matt, do something on Q-Force if you haven't already.
Q-Force, yeah. And, they're just commentators. They're not special about anything. They're just commentators.
They're just the common ones.
Do you have anything for the past that you would like to recap?
That I would like to recap, put my cap on again, as it were.
You don't want to be remiss.
Dun, dun, dun.
You don't want to be remiss in your recap.
You saw my remiss thing that I said today. It was stupid. So any further that's out there, just to recap this stupid thing that I said, which one? So in the chat today, in the chat today, Bearly says, I have been remiss in my duties, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you have missed it again because you've been remiss. Anyway, it was stupid. And it was really even more stupid that I felt the need to recap all that. So again, I hope you first are still listening to the rest of the show because Bearly will talk more. I will let him talk more, and that'll be more exciting for every fur. Anyway, speaking of talking more, I do have some past today to talk about.
Okay, well let's hear your past. Just a few.
Yeah, let's hear about my past. Well, I was a tiny pup. So on season 2, episode 15, look at this. I'm catching up. Season
You're
2,
catching up.
episode 15. That's when we talked to Puka Goat.
Yes.
And I forget if it was me or you when we introduced them. One of us accidentally said Polka Goat. And of course, we then started talking about polka and everything like that. And so you dropped in a, I think it's supposed to be polka music. And I say it like that because we started talking over it and everything. And it totally sounds like Mexican music that you would hear at a Mexican restaurant. And I just thought that was so funny. We're like, well, polka, hey, polka, do you do the polka? And then there's this Mexican music playing in the background. And it's just horns and everything. It was funny. It was so funny. So every fur, go back and listen to that because it was hilarious.
Interesting thing about that, because if you go back in the history of music, the Germans brought music to Mexico. And that's why Mexican music and polka music sounds very similar.
Really?
When you look at the traditional music, yes.
I definitely did not know that. Okay,
Yep.
CEU
Little known
earned.
fact. Little known fact. A CEU earned, yes.
Yes, indeed. I mean, for any fur out there that's listened for a while, you know that Bearly has all this information, and every now and then it just slips out like that. So
I know.
Stay tuned. Maybe you'll get another CEU.
In order to put new things in my brain, other things have to slip out from time to time.
They have to. I mean, there's only so much. My brain is full. So speaking of full, also on episode 17, so moving ahead a few episodes, that's the episode I talked about the Mark Zuckerberg,
right?
The virtual office space thing, and how Cooper Tom did an amazing, wonderful parody of it. And so for any fur, go back and listen to that. Oh, Cooper Tom, come on the show. We love you. You have so much.
Come on the show.
We have so much to talk to you about. Anyway, so I talked about that. And my question to you is, did you end up watching the Cooper Tom thing?
I did. Several times.
Yeah,
yes.
I have also watched it several times.
In fact, one thing I did, I opened up two browsers. I put the Zuckerberg YouTube on one browser and the Cooper Tom on the other.
Awesome.
And watch them side by side, which was kind of funny to do.
That I might have to do that. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then on season 2, episode 18. So look, I'm caught up. This is what, episode 22? I'm caught up to 18. Yes. That's when we had Manic Nux on the show. With his wonderful singy voice, that wonderful kitty. So shout out to you, Manic. All you first go back and listen to us talk to him and everything. At the end, when we were like recapping and everything, you were talking about how you were going to listen to all of his things, all of his music. And have you done that is my question to you.
I have, in fact, done that.
Nice.
I talked last week about that rabbit hole I went down. That he was part of that rabbit hole. That was
one of them? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Because I was like, oh, yeah, I can listen to this stuff now. And it's like,
That took up that 3 hours. Cool. Well, I mean, this has been very productive. I'm glad I asked the questions I did to you, because now I feel very satiated with knowledge. And but so that's my pass for today.
All right. Well, I'm going to post the link for 5-Minute Furs, and we shall see if anybody joins us today.
Oh, wow. I didn't even mean to end that at the perfect time, but I did.
You did. You ended your soliloquy, if you will.
My soliloquy ended just at the right time.
At the right time, yes.
Do we think any furs going to come in today?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but we haven't
you
done it for a while.
You mentioned it, and then there was a few furs that like hugged their tail about it or something. So
and then a few furs started commenting about a bunch of other stuff, because I asked if there was any furs that wanted to do something, which we'll talk about in Furries of the News. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, because if I get ahead of myself, I fall down.
You do.
I would fall down if I get ahead of myself. Yeah, I know that head of mine.
You know, when you're driving along, I mean, I don't do the driving. My little puppy head's always out the window. But when it is out the window, I notice all these signs in the road. And one of them is, stop, ahead. And I'm always thinking like, well, let's do that because we don't want to run over it or anything.
Yes, don't run over that head.
Don't run over that head. Just stop. Because
there was a crime movie for a while back called like 12 Heads in a Duffel Bag or something like that. I'll have to look that one up.
Yes. That sounds something like for a past today in the future.
Yeah. So let's get on to, while we're waiting, let's get to media, shall we?
No.
Okay.
I did a special thing there. Just for
All
you
right. So
first.
I have not read anything in the last week. As I related earlier, I've been super busy, but I did watch Cruella on Disney finally, since it's
How's
now
that?
free. It was very good. It's a very good movie, I must say.
Okay.
It's long, but
Is
it's
it
like
like
2
one of those
hours.
2.5 hours, something like that? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long. You got to be committed to the bit to watch it.
Yeah.
It's long, but it's a very good movie. It's very awesome. I would recommend it highly to anyone.
E. Coyote to anyone.
Yes.
Even the Roadrunner. Just
Roadrunner, the coyote's after you.
Roadrunner, that coyote's after you. And then another movie I watched just yesterday was called Gunpowder Milkshake.
Gunpowder Milkshake. Tell us about that, Bearly. I have not heard of it.
It's a Netflix original.
Okay.
It's very good. I can't tell you who. Paul Giamatti is one of the actors in it.
I don't know who that is.
When you see him, you'll know him. He's one of those actors that
It's
you
one of
know.
those.
You see them and you're like, oh yeah, that guy. He's one of those guys.
There's a lot of those because I know I'm remembering a lot of our episodes when we talk about this. You say the name and I'm always like, who's that? And you're always like, oh yeah, this, you'll know him. It's like, I don't know anyone's name apparently, but
Right, yeah. Well, a lot of times you see them in there, and I IMDb his stuff a lot when I'm watching movies because it's like, I know that guy from so
who
and
is he?
so.
Okay, yeah.
Who is that guy? But anyway, so Gunpowder Milkshake is kind of like Harley Quinn if you've seen those movies.
I have not, but maybe other first have.
I'm sure other first have. It's kind of like Harley Quinn meets Kill Bill.
Oh.
Yeah. So
So and by the way, any for this out there that have seen Harley Quinn, write us in and let us know what you think about Harley Quinn. That was just a side jaunt to try and get Furz to like talk to us and stuff.
Send us messages. Yes, absolutely. It's an irreverent shoot 'em up movie, and that's what I have been watching for media. How about you?
Well, we've been watching. I think I mentioned last week Mike and Molly. Did I talk last week
No,
about
you didn't.
that?
You did not talk about that.
I've talked about before that. Okay, that's right. We started this last week. So we did watch. I talked about Never Have I Ever last week, and we finished season 1 of that. And so, we rotate things. So we went on to the next season of Mike and Molly came out, and it's good. I mean, Mike and Molly's one. I mean, we've talked about this before, and I know you don't like it, and I kind of understand why. It's one of those like every episode it's not horrible, but it's not the bestest thing. Whatever. Season 2 was like really good. Then it didn't get it anyway. It's one of those things. But anyway, we're on the most recent season, and it's pretty good. I'm liking it anyway. It's pretty good. So we watched that, and yeah, I think one thing that probably makes people not like Mike and Molly. I mean, I don't know, but I'm assuming it's because like the entire first half, at least, of the first season is like a big fat joke. Like there's just fat jokes all over the place. And I can definitely see why that would put people off. They're definitely, like by the end of season 1, ease up on that. But yeah, it's pretty, lots of it in the beginning. Anyway, so we're watching that. Speaking of long movies, you had a long movie. We watched a long movie. I think we'd seen this before, but we watched it again. Honey doesn't remember it, but I remember some things. Captain America Civil War from 2019. I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh, yes,
Barely.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff. Yeah, we're both loving the Marvel stuff. I know that. So,
are you watching them in order?
I don't think. I think at one point we were, but now I'm not sure anymore. I think we've seen them all. I don't know.
Disney Channel, since they own the Marvel franchise now.
Oh yeah.
Disney has a package of them, if you will. But I mean, it's all free. But
Dun, dun, dun.
if you pay for the service, but they have it set up in Marvel timeline order. So the movies go from the earliest in the timeline to the latest in the timeline. And it's not when the movies came out, but when they occurred in the Marvel universe. Yeah.
Okay. No, I like those. I'm definitely with you in like that's the way to watch things. It's like put them
and I'll tell you what, it actually brings those movies into a newer light when you watch them in that order.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I can't help think about how, Star Wars, there was 1, 2, and 3. And then episode 4, 5, and 6 came out after 1, 2, and 3. Or, how'd it go? 4, 5, 6. And then before that was other way around. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yep. So episode 4 was the first one.
4, 5, 6. And then 1, 2, 3
then
came
1, 2,
out.
3. Yeah.
Yes.
And
that always disturbed me because, I wanted to be in the chronological order. I mean, I've seen them all, but there's always a little bit of I'm cringing a little bit because this doesn't quite. Anyway, so I'm with you. I like the idea of watching the Marvel universe in the chronological order. I'll have to go back and find out if we've done that.
It's interesting to do because you get insights, and I'll tell you what, the story keepers for that whole setup is amazing because I know when they film different things, and it just flows perfectly if you watch it in timeline order, and it's like. How did they
actually
know?
Thought ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. How did they know when they filmed this that it was actually taking place 20 years prior?
Yeah.
And that the storyline just flows smoothly if you watch it in timeline order. It's pretty amazing.
like Star Wars, like they didn't when they did 4, 5, and John Lucas did 4, 5, and 6 way back when. He didn't think, I'll make it so that the 1, 2, and 3 comes out later in 25 million years, and it'll make sense. But
he wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before. He filmed 4, 5, 6.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, they were all written. But if you look at if you ever pay attention to some of the older videos and interviews with George Lucas, he says that he didn't think the technology was there yet for him to make 1, 2, and 3.
Okay,
but he knew that if he waited, the technology would be there in order to tell the story the way he wanted to tell it.
I didn't know. Wow, another CEU, totally. So it's like an Avatar. Like you probably heard Avatar was actually written, I don't know what it is, 5 years or something before its release because the technology wasn't there to do the all the stuff that he wanted to do. So wow, interesting. Very good to know. Interesting. So it actually does flow better than I think it does because it was actually written that way.
Yes, it was written that. They can't help it. What was that line from Roger Rabbit? I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
That's right. Jessica Rabbit says that.
Jessica Rabbit, yes.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think about that line every now and then for some. I thought about that line the other day for whatever reason.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
But anyway, okay, there we go. There we go.
There you go.
And one more thing that I did watch, that we've watched, another 2019 movie called Shaft with Samuel L. Jackson. Have you seen this movie, Bearly?
Who is a man that would risk his neck for his brother, man? Can you dig it?
I haven't. I should because I remember that's a remake from a 1970s movie, I think, or a 1970s television show.
That might be right because I remember the name, but I mean the name Shaft sounded familiar, but I didn't know where it's from. I highly recommend it. Bearly, definitely check this out. I mean, it's Samuel L. Jackson, so there's that. And he does such a good job in it. It's very, very Samuel L. Jackson, and it's so great and perfectly Samuel L. Jackson that it's just hilarious. Like, it's just hilarious at times anyway, but the fact that it's Samuel L. Jackson doing it is like, that's another level of hilarity if you know Samuel L. Jackson. It's like, that's so perfect. And it's not like, it's literally not like they wrote this movie and then they're like, okay, who should play Shaft in this movie? And they're like, let me think. Samuel L. Jackson would be perfect for it. It's the other way around. I'm pretty sure that they wrote this movie specifically for Samuel L. Jackson. It's that perfect. It's just so good. Perfect. It's really great. So I highly recommend it. And that's my media for the week.
That's your media for the week. All right. I've taken the link down for 5 minute first because nobody came in. So
no fur came in.
I'm
gonna write down and say no fur came in.
So as far as media, I wanted to mention to you, you talked about the show Elite.
Yes.
And you said how good it was. I tried to watch it.
Okay.
I tried to watch it. You know what got me about it? And maybe it's because my speakers are too high end or something like that. But the sound of the voices to me, because it's dubbed over, sorry, with American voices because it was made in Spain or somewhere like that.
Spain, yeah. Barcelona.
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 Barcelona. I didn't care for. I don't think the voices fit the actresses or the actors, and it's just like that voice should not fit that actor.
Okay.
Or when they did the voiceovers, clearly they did it in a studio, and so the sound of the voice was too crisp when they were like outside.
It was very
shouldn't have
crisp.
sounded that good.
I see.
They should have background. They should have recorded it outside when they were outside, and they should have recorded it inside when they were inside. Because I think the nuances of the way that the voices are in the real world when they record stuff, it has the room noise in it, and it's just like it was cringy to me. I just like, that's wrong. That doesn't sound right, and that's maybe because I'm a techie guy and I'm a sound guy.
It's true. It's true.
I found myself focusing on that and not paying attention to the story.
So for any fur out there that's not as OCD as Bearly is in these terms, you will really like this movie because I thought it was awesome. But if you're more like Bearly, you won't like it, so don't watch it.
Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, I am just weird that way. Sometimes it's like I cringe, and I was like, ah. Then nobody can see me cringing, but I'm making a weird face and shrugging my shoulders and cringing my fists together.
So for any fur, I can attest, Bearly was just... so when you see him next in the fluff, ask him to cringe for you so that you can actually see what he just did right there. He did the shoulder and the vibrating thing and everything. So, yeah.
It's vibrating shoulders, if you will. Good. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
What did Mum buy? What else we got? Oh, my cow. We're off the rails.
Well. 3 holes in the ground. Yeah, okay. We got it all now. All
right. I think some fur should write in and tell us what all of our catchphrases are by now.
We've got a few.
Just a few. We can have an entire panel just of catchphrases. Just stand up in front of everybody and go, well, what did Mum buy? If you will.
If you And any fur that comes to that panel that hasn't heard any of our episodes are like, wow, I am leaving right now because I have no idea what's happening right now.
Right. We just get the punchlines to all our jokes. Circumference.
Oh my cow. That's
right.
That's so good. That's so good.
And I want to point out to everyone listening, every fur listening, that I know that we haven't had a guest for a couple of weeks, and I think it has a lot to do with as cons are coming up more and people are getting more and more busy outside of the world. We've had some challenges booking guests on the show. And so all of those guests that we've had before, we appreciate your time. And we're still working to get guests on the show. And hopefully we'll have some more in the future.
So that you don't just have to listen to me, but you can hear
me.
Bearly talk. No, I think we love listening to Bearly because the golden dulcet tones.
Yes. Those 3 things. Yes. They
That's what you got.
Yes.
They intermingle and they go well together.
They intermingle?
They intermingle.
Intermingle.
The rails are happening.
They're off. They are off. All right. Well, I think we should get to furries in the news.
Okay. Well. What is it, though?
It's furries in the news.
No. Well.
That's a hole in the ground.
Yeah, okay. That's what my mom buy, the hole in the ground.
Yeah,
okay.
The hole in the ground.
So.
Here we go.
Let's back up. Taebyn, calm down. Let's back up and do this. Where are we now, Bearly? What's happening?
We're furries in the news. Furries in the news. Furries in the news. Somebody's killing him. Oh no.
Stop it. I'm trying to do a thing here. Mr. Killer, don't do that in. Every fur should just totally see how Bearly is looking at me right now. The Bohemian Rhapsody thing I was trying to do the last few weeks is probably better. But anyway, we're stuck with this. What is my life about? I have no idea. In the news park.
I can't wait till we do this live at a con so everybody can watch you and your ministrations doing that particular thing.
And when I hear myself do this on other episodes, I'm like, every single time I do, I'm like, what am I doing? Oh my cow. Is this on the internet? I hope no one ever listens to this. It's horrible. Anyway, there it is. There it is.
It's just terrible. Just terrible. I can't wait. I cannot wait for a live recording at a con. It's going to be so much fun.
We will do it, and we'll see how much the cringe factor goes up whenever Fur actually watches me do that.
I think at some point we should, just pass the microphone around and say, what's your favorite catchphrase? Anyway, so furries in the news. To all our listeners, I know this is a big thing for a lot of furs, especially furs really enjoy your furries in the news, Moritz. So, but there's not been a lot of furries in the news lately, and I'm not sure why. I mean, we've gotten cons going up and ready. I did some research today and found out that no cons have been super spreaders of the COVID.
No cons.
Zero. The cons that have happened, they have not been classified as super spreaders of the COVID virus. So
even Megaplex, that's interesting because Florida and everything. So okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it's because they're just very good at everybody's conscious and conscious. Is that the right word?
Conscientious?
Yes. Of not spreading it. So another CEU right there. This is going to be a 5 CEU episode.
This is totally.
So, that's good news. That means that all the furs are following the rules and doing the things they're supposed to do, and that we're getting vaccinated and wearing masks and we're being safe and we're socially distancing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I was very pleased to see that there was no classification of a super spreader event for the FurCons. So good for you, furs.
It would be interesting to know what percentage of the furry community is vaccinated, because it seems like a lot of them are, and so that's I don't know if that information is out there, but that would just be interesting to know.
It would be interesting to know, and I know that a couple of weeks ago, Blonde Foxy came down and visited me. And he was going to a party afterwards after he visited me, and he had to send them a picture of his Vax card because the party he was going to said, you can't come if you're not vaccinated. So,
really? Well, good for them.
And this was a private party. So,
yeah, no, that's I hadn't heard of that happening, but good for them. That's exciting to know that furs are being responsible in doing that. Responsible.
Responsible, yes. So if you know of anything that's happening, furs out there that is newsworthy within our fandom, send them along so we can report on them. And if any listeners go to cons and would like to do a review of those various cons that you attend, let us know and we'll put you on the air reviewing the con that you went to.
That would be, not only very fun, but very educational. We can get more fluffy CEUs for that, too. So, that would be very good. So, let us know, you furs. Yeah,
nice to hear from furs telling us all about the cons they went to.
Yeah, let's keep this community together or something. I'm actually not sure what I'm talking about there. But hi!
And speaking of cons, there are several upcoming in the next couple of weeks. Of course, BLFC is fast approaching. In a few weeks, it's going to be... this episode comes out on October 3rd. Which date does this come out? October what? 2nd. I'm looking at the calendar. 1, 2, 2nd. October 2nd. Hooray!
You did it.
I think. Maybe not. No. This comes out on September 25th. Sorry, folks. I'm a week ahead of myself. Pardon me. I don't mean to be too far into the future. Although I know our Taebyn pup travels to the future to tell us about movies that are coming out later in life.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. But in just a few weeks, it'll be BLFC, and I will be there. I know that Rayne Raccoon will be there. I know that Moritz Crow will be there. I know that hundreds of furs will be there.
As a matter of fact, there'll be a lot.
We're hoping that Taebyn will be there. We hope.
Questionable. I can't pronounce that. Questionably wag. I'm trying to pronounce that. I can't.
A questionable wag.
Yeah.
Is that a wag in a question mark shape?
It is. It's like a. I don't even know. I'm not even going to try. I don't know what it's like.
HCon, which I don't know what that stands for.
HCon. I have not heard of this.
Con. Yes, it's in Erbach, Germany,
Okay.
and it's running September 29th through October 3rd. So that's coming up prior to BLFC, and then BLFC is the next one after that on the International Con calendar.
He just did the air quotes for that
I
wants
did
to
air
know what he
quotes,
just
yes.
did.
International air quotes. Yes.
These are
All
quotes in
right.
the international air.
Speaking of con reports, we have a con report from Rayne Raccoon.
Yay, Rayne.
Thank you. Yeah, so last weekend, which would have been September 10th, 11th, and 12th, was Rose City Comicon. Prior to COVID times, my husband and I never missed RCCC.
Okay.
But since, last year with all the
things.
cons being canceled, so yeah, we
figured, as the case were, maybe.
Indeed. So even though the guest list was kind of sparse this year due to a lot of the guests canceling at the last minute, the one guest that on the list that we really wanted to see was Adam Savage, and of Mythbusters, and of course he didn't cancel, so we went, and they were checking everyone's vaccine card at the door to make sure we were all vaccinated and wearing CDC approved face coverings, and so that was pretty nice. My husband and I have been pretty avid cosplayers for years, and since every FurCon last year was canceled, I had to fursuit for Comic-Con.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, because why not? I mean, because I only got to public fursuit one time last year, so that was like the only time I've ever fursuited. So I figured this would also be a good trial run for BLFC to see how I could handle the long-term fursuiting, and I think I did really well. It was a lot of fun.
Well, you survived, so that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I had a fantastic time, and of course, I had to represent BFFT family and handed out a lot of our stickers.
Nice.
So that we could get some more people involved.
And
in
you
fact,
did, yeah.
Yes. In fact, I met a steampunk couple who were there, and when I gave them a sticker, they're like, "Oh, we already listened to the podcast.
Really?
Yours are great." And
Nice.
And then they were like, "Are you going to Spokantro?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to try." And so they were like,
"Really?
Yes,
that is
it was
so
really
cool.
Very
That's
cool."
very
They're
cool.
like, "If you're there, we'll see you there." And
Nice.
so that was amazing. I also met Orion /Shard, the Dutch Angel Dragon, and they were super delightful to talk with, and they've actually joined the BFFT chat.
Nice.
So yeah, that was really cool. I met a lot of other furs too. Some in fursuit, some who were like, "I am hoping to get my fursuit soon." So it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of pics with some really cool cosplayers.
That was your top pick.
Oh yes,
Those picks.
Those picks were my top. Well, actually, no, they weren't. I will tell you about my top pick here in a little bit. But yeah, I had a ton of like kids and people just coming up and wanting to take pictures with me.
Nice.
It was really, really neat. I saw a couple of really great artists. Well, actually more than a couple, quite like a lot of really great artists. And including in that was the writers and artist, or the writer and the artists of a furry graphic novel series called Beyond the Western Deep.
Oh, very cool.
So,
very cool.
Yeah, right now the first 2 volumes are out, and the story has a huge cast of furry characters, and the artwork is just like superb.
Nice.
I've invited them to be on the show, and
Awesome.
they have tentatively said yes.
Nice.
So I'm not going to spoil the interview that we're going to do later. So you just have to wait to hear all about Beyond the Western Deep from them.
That's exciting.
Because
I
On the
wait.
Western
I wait.
Deep.
Yes,
Nice.
and I mean the website's amazing. Which the website for them is westerndeep.net. So like you can go there and kind of check out some of this.
Is that like one word,
beforehand.
no underscore, anything? Western.
One
Deep?
word, no underscore. Westerndeep.net.
Okay, I'll check
Yes.
that out.
They're
That's
also on
exciting.
Check that out,
Twitter. Yeah, they're also on Twitter as the Western Deep.
Okay.
So
At the-
yes, the characters are just adorable. I loved everything about it. As soon as I saw it, I was immediately drawn to it.
Did you buy the novel?
I did not. I am going to buy both of them though, because we just didn't have enough time to run around and get back to them at the end. I was going to stop and buy the novels, but
cool.
I am going to buy both the novels from their website.
Well, I'll have to see if they have electronic versions and put them in my stack of like 20 furry books to read.
Yeah. No, me.
Well, they're
me
graphic
too,
novels, so I would.
Graphic novels.
Yeah,
Good,
I
good.
would recommend
Cool.
buying. I don't know if they have an electronic version, but I would recommend buying the actual printed version because then you'll have
Cool.
all that beautiful artwork sitting around too.
Right.
Cool.
So what else did you do at Comic-Con besides promote our show?
Besides promote a show, well, of course, I mean, the pinnacle of the con was meeting Adam Savage and getting to give him our little special gift bag from the BFFT family.
And he put you on Facebook now, didn't he?
Yes. So I woke up the next morning and my husband's like, "Oh my gosh, you're on Adam Savage's Facebook and Twitter feeds." And I'm like, "What?"
Wow.
And so like I looked and I was like, "Ah,
Awesome.
that was just
Awesome.
like so that was like the best part was when I woke up Sunday morning
Nice.
and Randy's like, "Hey, you're on Adam Savage's Facebook and Twitter." So that was very cool. So I mean, I told Adam Savage he's welcome to come on the podcast anytime, and he said, "Hey, I'll look into checking it out." So
Nice. Awesome.
We'll see what comes of that. I don't know. He's a very, very busy person. So yeah, I don't know if he's going to have time for our little podcast, but fingers crossed.
It would be so cool.
Aussies
Adam, if you're
crossed.
listening, we love you, Adam. Come on the show.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go. There you go. And I've heard this a lot that I've never been to Comic-Con, but I've actually thought about going to Rose City Comicon actually though.
You really should. It's a very fun place. There's a lot of furs. All the cosplayers are super duper supportive of other cosplayers, and furries. We just kind of fit right in with them.
Yeah.
They're all like one big family there. It's a very, very polite,
Cool.
very nice Comic-Con.
And I've heard that furries actually have quite a like non-vanishing, they have an existing presence at Comic-Cons.
Yes.
So, yeah.
In fact, we didn't get to go to the costume contest because it was really late in the day, and we had to get home to feed our pug. But I looked at the pictures of it, and there were 2, maybe 3 furries in the costume contest.
Cool.
And one of
Very
them,
nice.
was like a Cheshire cat, and
Ooh.
actually got a prize.
Ooh.
So
Nice.
very,
Nice.
very good furry representation for Rose City this year.
That's exciting. I wag.
Nice.
I totally wag.
Very cool. Very cool. Will you go again?
Oh, I always
Well,
because
yeah.
I mean, like I said, we have not missed one except for the one that was canceled since we moved here. It's like one of our favorite cons. Then Emerald City is our other favorite con. That's
Nice.
up in
Okay.
Seattle.
Okay.
Right.
Good. Good.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show and telling us all about Rose City Comicon. And
Of course.
hopefully that when things get better, it will be more attended next year. And
Oh, I'm sure it will be. And I mean, a lot of
Probably,
with the rise of Delta, a lot of the guests, were just a little bit leery about coming. But
Yeah.
Adam is one of those science guys. So
He
since
believes in
he's-
science. Yes.
He believes in science, and he knows, hey, I've had my vaccine. I'm being masked up. I'm keeping socially distant, and he's like, there's no reason for me not to be there for the fans.
Yep. And the
Yeah, yeah.
pictures you posted of you with Adam are awesome, and we'll put them
Thank
on
you.
the
Oh,
put them
yes.
on the YouTube channel when
Yes.
we do this, so that you can see everybody with Adam Sandler and
Savage.
Adam Savage, not Adam Sandler.
It's
Totally
close.
different guy.
Totally
Totally different
different.
guy.
Totally different.
Totally different guy. Yes. Adam Savage. Sorry if you're listening. Don't hold that against us. Please come on the show. So, all right, Rayne, thank you very much for coming on the show. We will
Thank
talk
you.
to you later on in the world.
Yes.
Thank you, Rayne.
We'll be right back after this short interlude. All right. Well, thanks to
Well.
Rayne, and now it's time for you to educate us, or educate us, not
More
educate us.
CEUs.
More CEUs. Let's hear about some math wonders.
Wonders. Okay. Well, let me say. So this week's math, I want to talk about order of operations in like arithmetic. And Bearly, I'm sure you know about order of operations. Yeah. You know, some people wonder like, why do we need order of operations? Where do they come from and everything like that? You know, I watch people just like algebra and calculus and stuff. I watch people like write down equations and it's kind of chicken scratching and it's not very like precise. They know what they're talking about, but you know, if someone else were to look at that, they might not know. If they have to look at it later, they might not know. So there's good reasons for rules and stuff like that. But as far as operations, and this is kind of why we have orders of operations, so that we're all kind of speaking the same language, so to speak. So I want to look at an example. And this particular example was actually famous on the internet a few years ago. This was rampant on the internet. And so I want to talk about it a little bit, and it'll be a good example of why we need rules and to be able to be precise and write things down and everything. So, Bearly,
rules are meant to be broken.
They are meant, just like a pencil tip.
Yes.
Maybe.
A pencil tip, yes. Break that
So,
tip.
Bearly, do you have something to write with and something to write on?
Oh, of course.
And all you furs out there can do this too. You might actually recognize this example from the internet a few years ago. So there it is. So write this down, 8. Then the divided by symbol. So that's the 2 dots with the horizontal line, which by the way is called an obelus, which I actually didn't know.
It's
but
called
it has
an obelus?
It's called an obelus. Yep. I found that out today.
Well, there you go. One more CEU down.
One more CEU. So you've got 8 obelus, 2 open parentheses, 2 plus 2 close parentheses. So again, for every fur that's following along, 8 divided by sign, 2 open parentheses, 2 plus 2 close parentheses.
Okay.
Bearly, what do you think that the answer to that is? What does that evaluate to?
Well, let's see. You're supposed to do the things in parentheses first.
Yes. Oh, so actually, I meant to talk about first. And you're basically going to say what I was just going to say, but I meant to say, what are the order of operations? Well, people usually remember them by PEMDAS. You know, you've got parentheses, and then exponentials, and then M and D is for multiplication and division. A and S is for addition and subtraction. And if they're on the same level, that is multiplication, division on the same level, you do left to right. And addition and subtraction are on the same level, you go left to right. So anyway, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so 2 plus 2 equals 4. So you put the 4 in the parentheses. 2 times 4 is 8. So 8 divided by 8 equals 1.
Yes, that's definitely 2 plus 2 is 4, and not 2 times 4 is 8, and all that good stuff. Well, guess what? That is the wrong answer.
Okay.
But the entire internet did the wrong answer back a few years ago when this was a famous thing. So here's a really good example of order of operations and everything. So the answer is actually 16 according to the quote-unquote modern interpretation of order of operations. And I'll explain what I mean by modern interpretation in a second. And that's not to say things are wrong. That's just to say, well, I'll explain in a second. So
it's just the way they are now.
But it's how they are now. So here's how this actually goes. You were right. Parentheses first. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now, we're into division and multiplication land, which are on the same level. So we go left to right. So really, we're doing 8 divided by 2 is 4. Then 4 times 4 is 16. So the answer is really 16.
Because the parentheses next to a number, it means multiply the number next to it by the number that's inside the parentheses.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
All right.
And so if this is a good reason why, you know, you kind of, it doesn't hurt like when you're putting things in a calculator to make sure, just throw in parentheses. So if I were to put in more parentheses here, I would put open parentheses around the 8 and a closed parentheses around that next 2. So you've got 8 divided by 2 in parentheses times 2 plus 2 in parentheses is really the way to read this.
Because then 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4, times each other is 16.
Yep. So that's really
Okay.
kind of the way to think about this here.
Okay.
But I mean, really, I think of this as that 2, and then if you put like a multiplication sign after that first 2 before the
Right.
parentheses, and then it kind of, makes a little bit more sense. So now here's part of where this kind of ambiguity, if you will, comes from. And talking about the modern interpretation thing. So historically, this is actually interesting. Historically, that is before 1918. So up until 1917, because of typesetting, you have to like write math and science and stuff. Because of typesetting, the obelus, that is the division sign, they didn't have that. It was written as a slash, which is the common way you write division on calculators and well, maybe not all calculators, but like computers these days.
Okay.
Because of the typesetting, they wrote it like that. The division sign was interpreted always as a slash, that is really as a fraction bar. So this, so that is thing divided by stuff was always interpreted as a fraction, thing over stuff. So our problem here would have been interpreted as 8 over, and all in the denominator would be 2 parentheses 2 plus 2. And that's what gives you 1. So it's because of the interpretation, which actually came from typesetting, we have these differences of opinion. Like back more than 100 years ago, everyone would have said the answer is 1. And based on how they interpreted orders of operations, which
they would have
was
been
still
correct.
the same, but they were wrong. So it's really, really interesting. So an analogy to the English language is take the sentence, I pet a kitty with pauses. Now, you could interpret that.
With pauses.
I pet the kitty with pauses. So that can be interpreted in 2 different ways. Did you pet the kitty that had pauses, or did you use your pauses to pet the kitty?
Yes.
Similarly, if you don't like that analogy, you could similarly think about the sentence, I saw the man with binoculars. So did you see the man using binoculars to see him, or did you see the man that had possession of binoculars? Yes. So this is very ambiguous. And this is why we have grammar and sentence structure and punctuation and rules for all these things, so that we can actually successfully communicate to each other, both verbally and written. And this is the exact same thing with math, order of operations, arithmetic, algebra, calculus, all these reasons why we need to make sure that we understand how to write things down precisely and understand why we do what we do. And that is my math for the week.
Awesome. I like that math. That was very interactive.
Very interactive and very useful, I think, for a lot of furs out there that might not realize why we do the things we do and how important it is. And there it is.
Yep, there you go. The order of operations. You have to do things in the right order, but depending on what your interpretation is, and I mean, if somebody from the 18th century was here, they would have come up with the answer 1.
And it's like, and we'd be like, no, you can't do that. But it's like, well, but that's their interpretation. So this is why we have terminology, why we have notation, why we have common things and common rules and theorems and stuff to interpret things in the right way to make sure that we're all on the same page. So that's exactly correct.
Awesome. Well,
CEU earned.
Right. We're up to 5 or 6 this episode. That's amazing.
This is a huge one. I had no idea
huge.
how many
I know.
we would have.
Huge. It's huge, I tell you.
And next week for On the Past Today, I will talk a tiny bit about the history of the order of operations and how these came to be how they are. So stay tuned next week for that.
We should do a little this or that.
This or that.
Okay, much like Taebyn's book of jokes, I have a book of 3001 this or that questions.
3001. Someone actually did this. They sat down and said, I'm just going to come up with 3001 this or that questions, just because why not? I'm sure in the future, a furry podcast will need this. So thank you, Mr. Whoever you are that wrote this just for us.
Someone somewhere will need this. Yes. All right. Are you ready?
I am ready to make the choices.
Which would you prefer? To only take a bath for the rest of your life or only take a shower for the rest of your life?
I am a pup, and so I take baths quite often because I'm kind of forced to. And I've always liked the idea of a shower because then the water's just hitting me and massaging me and stuff. So I think I'm going to go with the shower, even though I'm a pup and I haven't had one yet. But I think I'll go with that.
All right. You know, I'm not a big bath fan, but I do like sitting in a hot tub.
Yeah. No, it's kind
I
of
think
the same
because
thing
I'm not
here.
cleaning myself in the hot tub, I'm just enjoying the bubbles.
Yep. And
But,
since you're
yeah.
a bath fan, it's like you're on a sailboat because the fan makes the water move. Anyway, I don't know.
What? No. What? No.
I don't even have
I don't
any
know.
idea what's
I
happening.
have no
right
idea what you're talking about.
now.
So,
Rainbows.
rainbows. Okay. Would you rather?
Prepared.
Would you? It's not a pair yet. So,
It's
would you
not.
rather fight with a lightsaber or a traditional sword?
I'll take the lightsaber because they're
Oh, yeah,
pretty.
absolutely. Yeah.
They're pretty and awesome. And what else can I say? And if you do it just right, that means that you have a kitty with you all the time because you have a lightsaber.
A
Tooth
light, and it's
tiger.
not a heavy saber. It's a lightsaber.
It's a saber-toothed tiger, so you always have a
Right.
kitty with you.
Right. And it's light. It's not heavy.
And it's not heavy. Okay, so
Yeah. It was a double pun there.
there was a...
It was a double
Oh.
pun that you didn't even get. It wasn't even a second level. It
I
was just
got
a
it.
double.
I got it. I just didn't. It's just stupid. It's just
It
stupid.
was just stupid. Very stupid. Yes.
That's all.
What's the answer to the joke?
Stupid.
A not heavy saber-tooth tiger. Yes.
That is the answer. A not.
A not
Oh
heavy
my,
tiger.
oh my.
Yes. A lightsaber.
Oh,
my. Would you rather
cow.
would you rather
wow.
climb would you rather climb a mountain or swim to the bottom of the ocean?
As long as either of those destinations is not this horrible joke thing that we just did, I'll take either. Because that was so bad on both.
Could you
of our
hold your
parts.
breath to swim to the bottom of the ocean though? That's a long ways
You
down.
were talking on the pupisode I was listening to just today about a sea creature that walks on the bottom of the ocean or something.
I was?
You were.
Wow.
Or maybe
was I-
Manic was. I thought
I think it was
one
Manic.
of you
Well, I
were.
don't think it
maybe Manic.
It might have been Manic. I don't think I ever talked about a sea creature walking on the bottom of the
Okay.
ocean.
So I was reminded of that for whatever reason.
But you're going to take either one, huh? Okay.
I blame the saber-toothed rainbow pair.
Okay. Would you? This is a strange one. This is a strange one. Would you rather walk with your hands or type with your toes?
Huh?
That is a strange one.
It's very
Like, why would you
strange.
even want either? How is that
How is
I
that
don't
even
want
a
either.
thing?
I'm just not even. I'm done. No more.
That was out. Nope.
That one's out.
It's out like Marcel the Shell. It's out. No.
It's out
Okay.
with shoes on.
Yes, because we all know from listening to last week's episode how much you love
much I
Marcel the
love.
Shell with shoes on. Yes.
So much.
So much. He has little shells all over the place. Yes. All right. The last this or that. Would you watch only your favorite movie forever or watch a movie you hate only once?
Probably a movie I hate only once because I'd probably get a little tired of my favorite, even though it's my favorite movie, like forever. Like watching the extended version of Lord of the Rings, like forever. I mean,
Mhm.
I love it, but that sounds a little overkill. So
And the extended version is like, what, 4.5 hours long, right?
the extended version is
Yeah.
like 12 hours long.
Oh, holy mackerel. Really?
Yeah, 12
That's-
hours.
Oh.
That's
Oh.
a lot of.
How many discs is that? Like 6?
Oh, something like that. It's like quite
Wow.
a few.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I think
hole in the ground. Dun dun dun.
I think off the rails, if you will. It's like as you
Oh,
were.
my.
All right.
That's what
So-
my mum buy.
So also, I am hoping that I get some good positive feedback for my poem from last week.
Oh, I do too, because it was really good. Every fur, go back if you haven't heard it. Go back and listen because he did so good. He made this up. It was amazing.
I want to commission that as a children's book. Wouldn't that be cool?
This is a great. It can go in our merch store. This would be
Mhm.
amazing. This would be great.
Wouldn't that be
I want
amazing?
that.
That would be awesome. I'd love it. Yep.
And
So
you know what would be? I can have my Taebyn songs, and we could
Mhm.
sell it with like as a package deal with your
Right.
poem, and that
Absolutely.
would be amazing. That was
Yeah.
that's such a good idea.
and we could take your poems that you've written and we've published and have
That's
a
true. I've done that.
Taebyn and
yes.
Bearly poetry book. That'd be so much
Taebyn,
fun.
that would be fun.
That'd be
Which,
fun.
by the way, shout out to my YouTube channel. Go see some of the poems that I have written and we have recorded.
Yes, they're very deep. They're not Dr. Seuss-ish like mine. They are very deep poems. They are very 1960s smoky filled poetry reading type poems.
There's actually, if you listen to them, there's what might be classified as dark. So if you're really paying attention, you'll realize they're dark. But still,
go and watch them. Yes. All right.
The pretty colors in the background are great. Okay, good.
Sorry. All right. Well, you know what? We need to wrap this up with some jokes. I think it's time to get some jokes going.
Wrap it up like a present pop.
So, do you have your joke book, my friend
do.
Fur?
And before I talk about my joke book, I have to say,
yes,
because I have to prelude this because it's not from the. Well, maybe I'll talk about my joke book. So, my joke book, for any that hasn't heard this before, is called Funny Jokes and Foxy Riddles, and it's very much not that. It's this.
It's very much not that.
It's not that. It's
no,
this
not that, no.
joke book from 1968 that was only costed. I was accosted by
you were
this
accosted
book.
by a book.
I actually didn't buy it. It accosted me 75 cents, and they're horrible. And I haven't. Before I read these on the show, I haven't read these myself, so they could go either way.
Yes.
So I say that now because I have to say I do have another joke which I like much more that I have read before that I'm going to say first before I get into my book. And that is...
Yes.
You know Piglet and Winnie the Pooh, of course.
Yes.
They're amazing.
Of course.
Duh.
Oh, dear, dear.
Oh, dear, dear. Yeah, oh, dear, dear.
Oh, dear, dear.
So, which means that Piglet was talking to Bambi, of course. Oh, dear, dear. That was so bad. That was
was so bad. That was not the joke,
even worse than my saber tooth thing.
Was that the joke? That wasn't the joke, was
no,
it?
that
Please
was not the joke. That was not the joke.
Yes. That was close.
So Piglet says to Pooh Bear, he says, Pooh, I haven't told you this before, but I think I'm in love with Beyonce. And Pooh Bear says, well, whatever floats your boat, Piglet. And Piglet says, no, Pooh, that's Boy-unsee. And that is much better than anything you're going to hear from my book I'm about to read.
So I had to relate a story to you from many years ago when I was a wee cub. And Ziggy, I know you have the image in your head now. So when I was a wee cub, I was in the 4th grade. My teacher from the 4th grade, Mrs. Mormile, I remember her name.
Mormile. More of them. I mean, if you're going to run a marathon, you got to run more mile.
You got to run more miles. But she read a little thing every lunch. She read to us, and she read this one thing about you should go to Disneyland. And she was telling this whole thing. At the end of it, she says, "And if you're really excited, you can take a picture of Pooh." And everybody in the classroom, I mean, these are 4th graders. What do you think happened when she said, take a picture of Pooh?
I can just imagine. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It took her a full 5 minutes to gain control of the classroom after that.
At least. I'm proud of her for actually doing so.
So, you know what cows read?
Something on the order of, I don't know, Bearly. What do cows read?
Well, they read catalogs, of course.
Oh! Well, I actually really like that.
And every fur should understand that I search out bad jokes for the podcast while Taebyn just reads what's next on the page.
So whatever that says about Bearly, there it is.
Yep.
That was actually, I like that. This is something that there was this woman, and she was opening the door of her refrigerator, and she found a rabbit inside.
No, a rabbit?
Yes. She found
in her fridge?
Rabbit in her fridge when she opened it. And she said to the rabbit, "What are you doing there?" And a natural question, I think. I don't fault her for that.
Yes, right.
And the rabbit who can talk, of course,
Mhm.
said, "This is Westington House, isn't it?" And no, this is one of those jokes where you have to say it correctly. So
Uh-huh.
really what the rabbit said,
Uh-huh.
really what the, I was just kidding there. I was trying to see if you catch it and you caught it. So good for you. You knew that's not what the rabbit really said. The rabbit really said
Yes.
that this is Westinghouse, isn't it?
Yes.
And the woman said, well, yes. And the rabbit said, well, I'm just Westing. Oh my cow.
Yes.
Indeed.
So, I got an email the other day that said Google Earth can read maps backwards.
Oh.
And
Oh,
I
wow.
thought, well, that's just spam. But then I got another email about canned meat, and that was just spam too.
That was just. I said, aha. It's in the place where you were now. Ham and
Yes.
pork. That's a Weird Al song, and by the way.
Yes.
No, that was good. That was so good. So speaking of good things, psychiatrists are good things. They help us out. And
Yes,
everything. And there was
absolutely.
a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist said to the little boy, her not protege but patient, said, "Why do you always keep snapping your fingers?" Protege. It's not protege. Why do you
Prodigy.
always keep prodigy? It's not okay. I won't even go.
That's a
that
letter
rabbit
G from
hole.
the Prada
yeah,
line.
No,
Yeah. It's like-
I wasn't gonna. I was gonna try not to, but
But I
went there
had
anyway.
to. If
We
there
went there
was
anyway.
I had to.
We
Yeah, I
went
had
there.
to.
It
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah.
The
It was there.
fruit
It had
was
to be
right
used.
there in front of you, and you
That's right.
took that apple.
I
It,
plucked it,
you plucked
and
it.
I prepared it.
It wasn't a pear because the pear wasn't there yet, so you took the apple.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
So the psychologist, rails,
Oh, the rails.
Oh,
Oh, the rails. Oh, my cow.
okay.
Oh.
Am I going to let us actually finish this episode? I will try. So
Probably
the psychiatrist says to the little boy, "Why do you always keep snapping your fingers like that?" The little boy says, "To keep the tigers away." Well, the psychiatrist says, "There isn't a tiger in like 50 miles of here." The little boy says, "Well, it sure works, doesn't it?" I'm not even going to take credit for that. I mean,
Well, you should. You should. Do you know where you learned to make ice cream?
I'm just not even going to, I don't know. Where do you,
You
make
make it-
ice cream?
You learned to make ice cream at Sunday school.
That's where you get your ice cream. Sunday.
A Sunday, yes. All right.
Where is, I'm waiting for the badoom boom chink. I know that's
Yeah, there it is. There it went. Oh, it just went. Yes.
It just went. Oh my! I don't
Is
know
this
if I
one of
should do
those?
this
Oh, you should
This
do
is
it.
one of
Totally
those-
do it. Do it. Do
again.
it.
Every for the book that jokes from my book haven't read them before. Okay. Bearly,
Yes.
what
How
is
can I be of service?
You can be of service by informing me because
Mm-hmm.
you're good with gourmet things, I guess. Bearly, could you tell me what is a pickle?
A cucumber in vinegar?
I'm actually gonna let you try it again because I think you can get it. I think you
What
can
is-
do this.
What is a pickle?
You had half of it.
A cucumber that's drunk. A drunk cucumber.
I'll give you one more try.
A spicy cucumber. I don't know. What's a pickle?
Well, it's a cucumber in a sour mood.
Oh, of course. Oh, that was so dilly.
I really don't want to end on that one. I'm going to do one more.
Okay, well, I'm going to end with this one. So the other day, my husband said to me he would do anything for a cashmere sweater.
Huh?
Anything.
Anything?
Anything.
Wow.
I said,
Nice.
anything? You would do anything for a cashmere sweater? He says, yes, anything. I said, all right, well, then learn how to knit.
Oh yes, I like
Yes.
that. That's a good. That's I like this.
And that's
I
my
like
last
these
joke
things.
for the night.
So I'm going to take a chance and read the next one because I don't want to end on the cucumber thing, and it's not going to be better than yours. I don't even know what it says, but
Take a
it's not
chance.
going to be better than. I'm going to
Take a chance on me.
Take a chance on you.
me.
Yeah, that's
From,
we did it.
From ABBA. Yeah.
Take a chance on me.
So there's this man. He's
Yes.
sitting around, and he got on his. He's tired of sitting, so he got on his donkey, and he left to go to the mountains for a week because he needed a vacation.
Of course.
He left on a Wednesday, and he returned on the same Wednesday. How do you think he did that?
He didn't go very far?
Well, really, his donkey was named Wednesday. And
yes.
that's it, my
And
furs.
that's it. That brings us to the end of our show. As with all good things or bad things,
and
they must come to an end.
Especially bad things. This must come to an
It must
end.
come to an end. It must come to an end. Oh, well, thanks to all our listeners. Be sure to check out our merch at bonfire/Bearly Furcasting. Send us messages if you'd like. Chat with us on Telegram in the BFFT chat. Be sure to tune in next week because I'll be out of town. And stepping in as co-host, as we said earlier, with Taebyn will be Bucktown Tiger.
Love that
Very
Tiggy.
famous and love that Tiggy. You have played music with him. You have been on stage with him. He's the star of stage and screen, Bucktown Tiger.
Our very own Jeopardy star.
And I'm sure that you and he have some very fun things planned. I look forward to listening to the episode that you guys put together.
So do I, because I don't know what it's going to be like
don't know
yet.
what's gonna happen.
We'll
It's
to see.
So there you go. It'll be total random, much of our podcasts. So Moobarkfluff to all our friends. Stay safe, stay furry, get vaccinated, and we'll see you at a con real soon. Taebyn, say goodnight.
Good night, and I will also say, because I can't just stop at that. Thank you very much, all you furs. I say this all the time, but it's true. Thank you very much, all you furs, for listening, especially if you listen to this whole episode and are still listening. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much. Big shout out again to our new Patreon supporter, Brother Rat. Did you talk about that?
I did, yes.
Okay, I forgot. It's been a long time. But again, shout out so much new Patreon supporter, Brother Rat. It means so much to us. And just the fact that any fur listens to this means a lot. San Jose and Columbus, you got some catching up to do. I'm just saying.
Got some catching up, yep.
Love all you furs so much. Thank you so much. Can't wait to hug you tight with posies in the fluff. And until next week, we bark at you again. Stay furry, Moobarkfluff.
Bearly Furcasting is an Injured Nerves studio production and is found on all major podcast platforms or can be heard directly at bearlyfurcasting.com. The opinions expressed here are those of the hosts and their guests, and no commercial compensation was granted. The Furcast is produced, recorded, and directed by me, Barely Normal, aka Mike Began, and is edited by myself and our associate editors, Rayne Raccoon and Bixby Wolf. Opening and closing theme music, as well as some interstitial music, was created for Injured Nerves Productions for the use on the podcast by our music associate, Reg Day, with Damian Tanuki. If you would like to hear more music by Reg Day, you can search for Tweezerbeak on Bandcamp or Hoop Loop Tunes on SoundCloud. Other interstitial and background music by Shane Ivers through SilvermanSound.com, Gator Tots on SoundCloud.com, and the YouTube Free Use Library. You can send us a message via email at barelyfurcasting@gmail.com or on our Telegram chat at BFFTchat, on Twitter, on our Facebook page, or on the barelyfurcasting.com webpage. The show is supported through donations at ko-fi.com/barelyfurcasting or through Patreon at patreon.com/barelyfurcasting. Thanks for listening. We hope you come back and listen next week.